You won't die waiting for an organ donor. We won't transplant organs. We'll print new ones instead. The Great Reset explained. 3D printing is the process of making three-dimensional solid objects from a digital file. Using methods similar to those of traditional inkjet printers, the 3D printing process builds thin layers of 3D printing material, also known as a filament, to create a physical object. Scientists have now gone a step further and found a way to 3D print living tissue using human stem cells as the ink. Stem cells in theory are powerful because they can develop into any cell in the body. In this method, the 3D cell printer prints uniform-sized droplets of these stem cells, gently enough to keep the cells alive and maintain their ability to develop into different cell types. It is hoped that this new printing method will be used to make 3D human tissues for testing new drugs, grow organs, or ultimately print cells directly inside the body. Currently still in the research phase, human embryonic stem cells, that is HESCs, are used majority of the time, and they are obtained from human embryos. Human embryonic stem cells. Bethesda, Maryland. In the U.S., universities are only allowed to undertake research on embryonic stem cells registered by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, the main government agency for conducting and supporting medical research in the country. To ensure scientists obtain embryonic stem cells ethically, the agency requires that they source only from embryos created for in vitro fertilization, a fertility treatment during which numerous embryos are created in the lab using sperm and eggs from infertile couples. Since couples don't use all of their embryos, they're allowed to donate the remaining to research. The NIH therefore requires that registered embryonic stem cells come with a signed consent form from the parents stating their wish to donate their embryos to research. Paradox. The paradox lies in the fact that the embryos are only seen to contain the building blocks of life, whereas in fact they are human life at its earliest stage, the true building blocks being the unfertilized egg and sperm from the individual donor parents. Fallout. The situation in the industry, even across the ocean, is just as alarming. According to a report by The Telegraph, during the 20-year period between 1991 to 2012, there were approximately 3.5 million human embryos created, but roughly 235,000 successful implantation procedures occurred. About 840,000 were put into cold storage, while just 2,000 were stored for donation. Most were discarded without thought during or after the conception process. Life unworthy of life. Berlin, Nazi Germany. The phrase life unworthy of life was a Nazi designation for the segments of the population which, according to the Nazi regime, had no right to live. These individuals were targeted to be euthanized by the state, usually through the compulsion or deception of their caretakers. This concept formed an important component of ideology of Nazism and eventually helped lead to the Holocaust. The United States was an international leader in eugenics, and its program directly influenced those of the Third Reich. The human right to life. This premise challenges the human right to life, which is the most important human right, since all other rights are based on the fact that one lives. Without the right to life, all other rights become void. Additionally, man does not have the ability to create life and therefore has no authority to destroy it. This is the only way for mankind to exist. Conclusion. Reason holds that if we continue to allow the harvesting of human cells at the very earliest stage in life, irrespective of more viable alternatives, then we fall prey to men such as Klaus Schwab, with organizations such as the World Economic Forum, and would readily and unwittingly authorize it at all further stages of life. With this premise, we would be signing off agency over our very selves and our children, as well as all future generations, forever.